ITP 263, Task 7, Assignment 3, Child Negligence. Good morning, Ray. I'm so glad you could come in this morning for the interview. As administrator of this school, I'm interested in your perspective on child abuse and neglect. I see in your resume here that you took a course in college on this subject. Could you share some of your views on this topic with me this morning?
Yep, I took a class on child abuse. You know, when parents are abusing their children. There was a lecture, many different lectures on it. Wow, it was really an amazing course about the law and explained what would happen when you work in schools as you're working with children as they developed. You know, the factors about kids that are abused, such as they're poor, maybe their hair's all messed up, they're not really well cared for. They have old shoes. A lot of things are wrong, so we wanted to help them and the parents improve.
Good. Well, let's talk about some of those early clues or things that we can be looking for in the classroom. As a teacher in the classroom, could you tell me just one or two signs that you would find for emotional neglect, for instance? What were some things you might be looking for as a teacher?
For my kids, if they're really sad, if they're not really well cared for, their clothes, you know, I want to help them with everything. I want them to be comfortable and improve. That's what I would hope and expect.
What are some of the physical cues that you might look for? For instance, sucking their thumb, some of those kind of things. What might you be watching for?
Well, to explain that, also if they're really in a hurry, that would mean there's many problems at home. I want them to be clean and comfortable, and if I don't see that, if I see them being emotional, then I'm going to help them with that. I want them to be really comfortable.
Good. I know that I've had situations in my classroom when I was teaching where I found a child was withdrawn from their peers. Oftentimes I would find them over by themselves at their desks, chewing on their fingernails. What kind of things do you think you could do then to cue me as the administrator that that's happening? What would you do if you saw those types of behavior in your classroom?
For a kid that's alone, I would go over them and I would talk to them and I would help them and I would try and communicate and discuss. And I would go to another interpreter and ask for some assistance and ask their thoughts and see if they would meet with them as well. And have us all socialize and talk about it. That would make me happy. That's what I think I would do.
I thought about this as a child growing up deaf. Did you ever feel isolated? Did you have people watching you thinking perhaps you were neglected? It seems like that could be one of the areas that would show up in some of our children who perhaps are having a difficulty communicating with others in their environment. How do you feel about that?
If there's a deaf kid that's alone, and over here there's a hearing kid that's alone, it would be tough to socialize them, yes, but, you know, I did grow up deaf, and I would help them communicate. First the two of us, and then I would explain sign to the hearing child, and then all three of us would get along better. I'd really try my best to help them communicate.
Good.
And I would do that through explaining.
Well, if it's okay, I'd like to also talk about some of the areas of physical neglect. And I know that you talked about that in your class. For instance, what would be some of the physical indicators for you if a child came to school consistently poorly dressed, that kind of thing? What other indicators would you look for of physical neglect or abuse from the home?
Well, let me think about that. It's hard to say. If kids are having a hard time physically, you do notice what's wrong with their clothes. That's one thing. And you can go talk to the parents about that and ask what's wrong and say, hey, I noticed this. People are looking at the kid. Explain that to the kids. Do you have issues with alcohol? Do you have issues with other things? The physical appearance of your child is not the best, so we can work on improving that. Can I help you and give you some money? I think I would offer that, or advice. And we could solve whatever issue there was.
What about conferencing with the parents? How do you feel you could approach that? If you saw, for instance, a child who came to school hungry, or you began to detect malnourishment, a child that didn't have energy to participate, those kind of things, how do you feel you could approach that in your classroom?
When I notice that the kids maybe are dirty in the face, maybe their eyes aren't clean and their mouth has some gunk on it, maybe they're just really lethargic with no energy. When I notice that, I will go to the parents' home and ask why. I notice that they are having vision issues. What's going on? I don't mean to ignore it. I'm not saying that you're ignoring them, but I really think it's time to maybe give them some help. They need some fruit, some vegetables. They need good food. In the morning, they need breakfast, and then throughout the day, they need lunch and dinner. So I try to explain that to the parents.
Well, that sounds very helpful. I know that our school does have a reduced meal program. The cost for hot meals here at the facility. Perhaps one thing you could also suggest to them is that they look into getting their child on a program at the school. There's a variety of things that I feel I can do as an administrator in this school and as a teacher to help a child have a positive school experience. And so I was just hoping today that we would have a chance to just see how well we can do in our facility to facilitate the best possible learning environment. I was also thinking about how we might talk to parents and bring them into our work with the child. Can you think of other things that you could possibly do as a teacher in regards to physical or emotional neglect from the home?
Yes, I can think of a couple. I can give them some paperwork on socializing. If I'm worried about them at home, I might be able to give them some food, help them with dinner. Maybe give the parents some money to help if they absolutely need that. I can help them with work as well, whatever they may need. If the parents are poor and have no work, I'd like to help them. I'm not sure other things. If the parents are drug users, I would really hope that their money is not being used for that, and we would convince them to use that for food. and get them the help that they need to fix their lives.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the parents need to go to a counselor to help stop the drug abuse, so they stop feeling alone, And the kids at home, it would help fix that for the kids at home as well, improve their lives.
Right. You're right, Ray. It seems to me that a lot of the children that we find that have gone through physical or emotional neglect come from single-parent families or perhaps low-income families. But I've also found out over the years of working with children that oftentimes neglect can occur in homes where there are both parents. Perhaps they're both working. There's other kinds of neglect, and I think that we shouldn't just stereotype and think that it's just going to be the low income or those who seem to be in poverty conditions. I have detected neglect in the other types of environments also. What type of emotional neglect do you think could come about in a family situation where both parents, for instance, are working and are out of the home?
If both parents are outside of the home working, the kid is left home alone. And he's responsible for himself. The parents need to work, and their time is being spent at work. When they come home, they don't know what the child's been doing that entire time. There's many different people that might be there that they don't know.
Right. I know that I have dealt with parents in the past who are workaholics, and they assume because they are caring for the physical needs of the child that the emotional needs are also being met. And I think as teachers, we need to constantly be able to watch for neglect in the emotional arena for children who may have all the physical needs met, but emotionally are starved for affection and attention and time giving from their caretakers. Right.
A lot of time the parents are working and come home, and when they leave, the kids are just lonely and don't know what to do. They're responsible for themselves. There's not a lot of socializing time. Maybe they'll be with their friends, but there's not a lot of controls there.
Right.
The kids might be sad or bored, scared. It's just not good when they're left alone.
Mm-hmm. Well, I really appreciate, Ray, what appears to me that you have looked at the whole gamut of child abuse and neglect. And I think that it will be good if we do indeed offer you a position on our staff, that you could come to us with some good qualifications that would help us in detecting these things in the classroom. I appreciate the time that you've spent with me today. I think it's been profitable for both of us, and I do look forward to spending more time with you in the future.
Thank you very much.
And what I'll be doing is I will be going through some more resumes, and I'll be getting in touch with you. I would say in the next couple of days. Will you be in the area so I can contact you?
Yes, of course you can.
Good. Okay. Well, thank you, Ray. I appreciate, again, as I said, that you came in today and took the time to talk with me. Thank you.